lasering some keycaps. This is the first thing I want to start with. It's going to be a little keyboard key, an aluminum one. And we're looking at my laser right now and at the program where I do everything. So this right here, this is the laser head. The beams will come out here and go down there. And this program is called EasyCAD, and that's where everything is done. So let's switch over to camera primary. And there we go. That's a keycap, and I'm going to do a preview on it real quick so we can see where it's going to go and what it's going to look like. And then firing laser. So these are aluminum keycaps, and that's why the laser is actually going to have a harder time doing a clear dark mark on them, but it'll still etch and engrave them nicely. I'm going to do 2 of those. And then I'm going to put a hole in one and then do something else too. And I'm going to be keeping an eye on both the chat in Discord and in Twitch at the same time. That is a keyboard key. This is a R4 profile key. So it'll fit the escape key or the numbers row. And I do sell them over at mylittletiles.com, of course, or in my channel here. And I figure I'll do a Luna one after the Glinny here. So this is a 30-watt fiber laser with a galvo head. The galvo means galvanometer. There's 2 high-speed spinning mirrors in there, which is why the laser moves around so quickly. And you can see we're getting a little bit of depth here too, which is very nice. A couple of cleaning passes, and should be just about done. Yep, the keycaps are very new indeed. This laser can mark pretty much all kinds of metals. The only thing it'll really have trouble with is copper, actually, because copper is way too good of a heat sink. But aluminum, steel, silver, gold, titanium, most everything it'll do perfectly well. I do have a lot of new stuff in my store. Alright, and let's run a Luna one next. So let's see if we can get a preview going as well here. There we are. That's where it'll go, and that's what it'll look like. And firing laser. actually, after the Luna, I'm going to do a non-pony one. I'm going to take an arrow key and put a hole in it in the shape of the Star Trek Delta, because I think it'll be really cool to watch a laser put a hole in a piece of aluminum, and because I don't quite have the pony arrow keys set up yet, so haven't decided on those yet. There's a lot of amazingly talented people in this fandom, absolutely. And now I do have another laser as well. I have a CO2 laser that's not as cool to watch, but it does a lot of stuff too. That one can cut plastics like acrylic or Delrin. It can engrave glass. It can cut wood or leather. It can do a lot of fabrics. It does even rubber for like stamps. So if anyone's like any laser related questions in general, happy to answer those too. Otherwise I can just keep lasering stuff and talking about that. This is a fiber laser. It's yttrium argon gas that goes over a fiber optic cable head, which is why it's called a fiber laser. It's at 30 watts of power, so it can do a fair amount of stuff. And the lens on it is 110 millimeters, which basically means that's my work area, about 4.5 inches square. Couldn't really do eye surgery, could just make you blind. I've lasered a lot of silly stuff, including a piece of chicken, laser cut a tortilla before, a bunch of other stuff. Lasered a Scootaloo onto a tiny peanut. The laser is aimed by 2 high-speed spinning mirrors in the laser head, which is why it's moving around so quickly. So now that that's done, let me switch over to do an arrow key, and it's going to be one of the Star Trek ones because I don't have the pony one set up yet, but it'll still look pretty cool. So we'll get that there. Let's check my focus here. Okay. And this will take about 2 to 3 minutes. Oh, and I did put a Scootaloo and a chicken too earlier. But let's see if we can put a hole in this keycap right here so the LED light can shine through it. I've been doing pretty good. I have not etched any precious gems. Crystals are actually not the best thing to laser, especially natural ones, because they have fault lines inside of them, and the laser can crack those. I've lasered a lot of random stuff. This laser wouldn't be good at lasering a piece of chicken. The other one works perfectly fine. I've also etched a bunch of ponies onto like saltine crackers before, because that works for some reason. And we already see the laser starting to burn through that metal. This is a 1.5 millimeter thick aluminum, so I'm actually impressed at how well the laser is eating through that right now. There's a lot of stuff I really shouldn't laser. Vinyl is really, really bad because vinyl is polyvinyl chloride. So vinyl sheets, fake leather that's made out of vinyl, things like that, it'll release chlorine gas when lasered, which is bad for both me and the laser. Same thing for like ABS plastics. Not a good idea to inhale those fumes either. I haven't been able to do that. I can engrave on the surface of glass with my other laser, which I have done. Not that vinyl, but yes. And thanks for getting the mug. As for the water bottle style flasks, I've actually looked into doing those. I know other people have done them before, so I haven't etched any of them, but I can totally do that. Oh, there we go. The laser's breaking through already. You can see that's a fairly decent amount of aluminum that it's eating away at there. No, not really. The laser is focused at 7mm up to be hitting the surface of the key, so by the time it reaches the laser bed, it's actually fairly diffuse and isn't going to do much. When I take out the key, you'll see there's a couple of markings on the laser bed from earlier things that I've etched, and those had to be much closer to it. Like if I'm etching something at 3mm, it'll make a marking on the bed, but if I'm etching something at like 7, not a big deal. So yeah, there we go. Just ate away a bunch of metal with light. I really like that process. So I think I'm going to do 2 of my laser pins next, and then some shot glasses. They are really, really fun machines. I don't really do the embroidery. I mostly started with ties, I guess, which were initially silk printed. I have some jacquard weave ones now, but I never made those myself. The laser stuff I all make myself. And there we go. So looks like it's just about done. Some nice clean edges already. Even though it looks like it's gotten through, I'm letting it finish running just to make sure the edges are clean. I could laser a laser, yes. All right. So next I think I'm going to etch some of my pins. They are very shiny stainless steel discs that have been titanium plated and rainbow anodized. So let's take a look here. I'm going to do Twilight. And someone else. Maybe Sunset, maybe Fluttershy. Alright. Nope, it will just burn through the fingerprints. It'll be no difference from that, which is very nice indeed. So these the pins have these pin posts in the back, so I took a piece of acrylic with a hole cut that I cut into it to use to allow me to position them nicely. So I can just do that and know that it's always nice and straight and even. And so let's get a preview and let me adjust the camera so you get a really good look at it. And yep, lots of fingerprints on that surface, but that's not going to matter. So I'm going to let the laser go now. And we're going to do a couple of different types of passes, both ones to engrave and ones to just cleanly remove the rainbow surface so the color just stays in the areas we want it to. And these passes are moving at fairly quick speeds. Like the slow one is about 200 millimeters a second. The really, really quick ones are go up to 3,000 to 4,000 millimeters a second. Of course, all within a 4-inch square area, but still. Yep, there's a lot of fingerprints on it. It's very shiny metal. It will catch fingerprints wonderfully. But that's not going to matter for the laser. It's a little bit different. This is actually done, so with G-code you make a 3D model and then your slicer just figures out exactly the path that needs to be taken. With this laser in particular, I set a vector shape and I tell the laser how to fill it. I say, go at this speed, at this power percentage, at this frequency, start from this angle, fill it with like this spacing between the lines, this many passes, crosshatch, don't crosshatch. So it's much more manually controlled. So like the really fine, this darker pass right now, the spacing between passes is 0.01 millimeters. I do have a 3D printer also, they're a lot of fun, but I end up doing most of my stuff on the laser. One of the lasers. Either laser, really. There we go. But yeah, these are my new pins. I have the blanks made custom for me, rainbow plated, and then just edge designs on them. I have not. The plastics that I can 3D print are ones that aren't good for engraving usually. I'd have to try 3D printing something out of acrylic maybe. And there we go, there's our background pattern. The laser's moving so fast it needs to do multiple passes to make sure that it's nice and clean. Here's the cleaning pass. This is trying to be as light as possible, so get no depth on it, just remove the rainbow layer. That way the mane, the eyes, the background, they all stand out so much more. And now the line patterns. It would really depend on the material for casting, for etching a casting for a 3D printed object. But that might be a really good way of adding some details to something. So that might be a fun thing to try. I've considered etching like graphite discs or similar to use in coin presses, but have not quite gotten around to that yet. I don't know about complex, but I can handle curved surfaces. Actually, once I do the next pin after this one, I'm going to switch to the rotary on the laser and etch a couple of shot glasses. And then maybe a mug. The laser does everything in the order it's set up in the program. So whichever layer I put in first is the laser it does. And within the layer, it does things by the order of the vector shapes in it. So while it looks random, it is doing it in a specific order that I can control as needed. With the laser, you kind of want to do outside in and obviously lower surfaces before higher ones. So the lines are the last surface to be done because that's the deepest edge, and it'll cover up any like other lines touching each other. So if the cleaning pass was a little bit angly, the lines will cover that up perfectly. This laser is not being treated as a printer. My other laser is being treated as a printer. This one has the specific program that I'm using, which has just vectors in a proprietary format that can't be exported out of it. And they're set up with hatches. And so there, the pin is just about done. I basically set the angle it goes at also. So if I set something at 0, it's going to go from the right outward. So let's see, we're going to do one more pin here. Sunset, I guess, or Fluttershy. Let's do sunset. Alright, and I picked the disc with a bit more gold on it, so it fits sunset better. Not actually. I don't think I've hit a point where something couldn't be lasered that wasn't copper. This is stainless steel, and while the laser will make it a little bit warm, it won't get it to the point where it's going to be really bad, so it's not a big deal. Also, this one's actually going to be ruined. You can see it's a little off-center because of the way that piece shifted. So this is a junk piece. We'll let it finish etching anyway. But I ruin a fair amount of pieces, so that's not a big deal. But copper is the only material where really that becomes an issue. And you can see, even though the laser is like offset right now just because of where the pin is positioned, and it's hitting the clear acrylic on the side, it's not etching it because this laser can't etch acrylic. Oh yeah, big industrial lasers absolutely do. Those lasers are in the kilowatt range, so between 1 and like 10, and this one's just a 30-watt machine, so it's running on completely different things. Also, the big industrial machines tend to be like Sentry style, basically, so gantry style machines. So there's like a moving arm or a physically moving head, just like my CO2 laser, while this is a galvanometer, so it's very much not a cutting machine. A few. Usually every batch I do, there'll be 1 or 2 pieces where something shifted along the way. That's part of the fun of etching everything yourself. Well, I don't really etch copper just because it doesn't etch well. But no, I haven't really had that sort of issue. I etch brass a lot, and it's usually perfectly fine. Stainless steel, same thing. The only time I've had like rust issues on stainless steel is if I try to be really, really fancy and do laser color annealing, because that's damaging the oxide layer of the metal directly, and that can get it to start rusting if it's not sealed in epoxy, which is what I usually do. Also, different colors light up in different way too. And no, I just got into it because it was fun. I've not actually done anything to learn this other than just playing with it. I ended up getting one laser, liked it, upgraded to a different laser, and then added the second machine, and I'm going to get another laser sometime this year as well. And thanks. I usually just end up tossing all of my bad pieces. I have enough bad pieces to go around, but I try not to sell them. At least I never have. So there we go, this one's nearly done. And then I'm gonna do a couple of shot glasses. Definitely a Rainbow Dash, and we'll see. Maybe a Twilight, maybe a Rarity. Oh, hey, thanks for showing up to my stream here too, and for the help there too. So we're doing the line pass now. It did like a lighter pass first to make sure that we burn through the rainbow layer, and then it's doing some nice dark deep lines. And we'll let that finish, and then go switch over to the rotary and do something else. It's just really fun to watch this laser at work. Also, all of these lines are actually really, really crisp and clear. It can be a little hard to tell right now because there's some metal dust near some of them, but I will just clean them up with a little bit of soapy water and a microfiber cloth, and it works. Alright, so let me switch to the shot glasses. Alright, let's grab that. And so to focus the laser, I physically have to rotate a handle at the top of the machine that raises the laser arm up, which is what I'm doing right now. And there's my rotary. Now it's a little harder to tell here, but that rainbow dash image is stretched out a little bit because of the way the shot glass is. It's wider at the top, so I am adjusting it for that. So, 1 second. Alright, and we're gonna try etching that. Let's see if this fails or not. This laser's like about 10K-ish, and the rotary is several hundred extra, yes. And there we go. So these are little stainless steel shot glasses. They are 1 ounce in capacity, so a little smaller than a regular shot, but that means they're called pony shots, which makes it hilarious to put ponies on them. And because of the shape of the shot glass, the rotary is actually angled upwards with a bolt at a to hold it nice and level. And also because of the angle of the shot glass, we can't really do a wider pass on it, so it turns every 1/10 of a millimeter. And yes, I very much expect to be at Everfree. It should be a lot of fun. There are other kinds of rotary attachments too. So right now this one is set to hold shot glasses. I can switch it to hold mugs, which it holds from the inside, or rings. It's by trial and error. There's technically a formula. I just kind of wing it and try so it looks good, because that's generally what I need. Getting that rotary set up and configured was a decent amount of trial and error too, because the laser didn't come with it originally. I actually had to open up the machine and install the control board for the rotary, and then wire that into the laser's control card so it knows when to rotate it and how. And I think I'll do a rarity one next. That should be fun. You can also see like a little bit of color on the shot glass right now. It's not actually there. That's just the color of the steel powder, so it looks a little bit like rust. But it'll go away and it'll be a nice clean black and white edge. I also have an exhaust running, which goes through a filter to catch anything that's coming out of the laser. Man, I haven't been to Ponytown in forever. I think that's just a little pre-existing dot on the shot glass, because you can see it rotating away. It'll just clean off it. So it looks like pre-existing on the shot glass. And it's gone. Alright, so let's do rarity. And we're using rotary mark, which is a feature of this program, telling it the part diameter, the focus length, and how to do it. Gotta light it. And firing laser. Oh yeah, whenever I'm lasering, I tend to just be sitting and watching the machine go. The alphabet on the far right is something that I use for new pieces to confirm positioning. And yes, I really like saying that, firing laser. Basically, when I get a new piece that needs to go in the rotary, I will etch the alphabet on it to its full width, and then I can use the letters for positioning. So I actually have a shot glass here with that alphabet on it, so I can see, like, if something's at F, the other side is going to be at around S. Because that's what I use for positioning. I have a mug with the same alphabet on it as well. It's just a really easy way of making sure that things are going to be aligned on a cylindrical surface. I've also engraved a lot of pens on this, which you can find in the store for sale by SkyRR. I've etched a lot of random things, really. Some things have been convention exclusives, and some things just haven't made it into a product yet. But yeah, I think I'm gonna switch over the rotary and do a mug next, and I'll actually show how that rotary is switched over from being set the way it is right now for clamping a shot glass to how I set it for a mug, where it needs to actually expand from the inside, because I don't want to be blocking any of the outer surface of the mug. I mean, the worst failure I've had would have been on the CO2 laser back when I started things, and I would sometimes just set the wood on fire. This laser has a hard time setting things on fire, so nothing much too bad on this one. The laser itself, by the way, is invisible entirely. The red there is from the positional laser, and the white sparks are from the metal being vaporized. And because this is stainless steel, the actual flash is bright white, but the sparks are kind of golden colored, which you can almost see. If this was titanium, it would be bright white all around. If it was silver, it'd be green. Favorite character rally? Twilight. Yes, fire is generally bad, at least for lasering things. There is basically dust coming out of it. You can probably hear the hum. I have an exhaust system running that filters it, clears it out, and sends it out the window. I have not done chopsticks yet. I've considered doing chopsticks. Yes, I could. Alright, nearly done with rarity here. I'm going to switch and do some mugs then. And we'll do a Twilight mug, actually. So let's actually zoom out, and I'm going to switch the rotary for mugs. There we go. And so for the mugs, I have that little tripod set up. And yeah, I definitely do custom orders like that. You can ping me about that, and I should be able to put it on a magnet or something similar. I could even put it on one of these metal discs. Alright, so let's do Twilight here. Laser, rotary mark. Alright, let's get a preview. And firing laser. Yeah, I can customize most of the things that I make. And so, unlike the shot glasses, here we're doing about, I want to say like 5 millimeters between passes. So the laser will etch 5 millimeters and then rotate, and then etch another 5, and then rotate again. And that's one of the reasons I've got that little support arm in the back, to make sure the mug can't shift during this process. Also, the process cannot be stopped in the middle in this case. There's no, like, if I interrupt the process while it's rotating on a mug, that's it. It's not going to know the position of the initial rotation, and the mug can't be etched again. So if I see a problem, I have to let it finish first, and then see if I can fix the piece. So far, so good, though. And these are stainless steel mugs. They are rainbow plated. They're double walled, so they keep things nice and cold, or nice and hot, either way. And they're quite nice. I have a lot of them because sometimes they do fail, and then that becomes one of my mugs. It doesn't really get cleaned up, but it's also not really noticeable. It's more visible right now just because of the dust being put on it. Once the mug is clean, they're much harder to see, but no, they can't really get cleaned up later. Basically what happens is, because the mugs are double walled, the metal is sometimes not 100% straight, so any little curvature in the metal will mean that things aren't 100% lined up to the dot. especially at the start because that's closer to the handle, so that almost always happens. But again, it's pretty much invisible in the finished design. Yeah, assuming a perfectly cylindrical object, that'd be no problem, but the act of welding the handle onto the mug does distort the metal a bit. And the settings I have to use for like working on the rotary are completely different to the settings being used to working on something flat. A spherical cow 1 meter in diameter? Yes. That would make life a lot easier. So when engraving on the rotary, my angle for hatching should really only be 0 or 270-ish. Most other angles will not look clean just because they go against the grain or they're off at an angle. And yeah, I've considered doing like thermos bottles and similar stuff on this laser. I might at some point. Right now I'm doing the flasks and the mugs and the shot glasses. And that feels like a decent selection of drinkware. You'd want like a laser that has a camera that can match up things to exactly where they are on the surface to be rotated. It'd be a little tricky, and this machine's expensive enough as is. Plus for shot glasses it's a little easier just because it's doing 0.01 millimeter. But the thing is, if I do the hatch width at the point, a tenth of a millimeter or something, like I'm doing for everything else, I couldn't do the cleaning pass like I'm doing here, where we're just removing the color without etching the metal. That needs wider passes to get anything looking clean. So it's not an issue on the shot glasses because they don't have any sort of coating, but on the mugs, it is. I've looked into phone cases. The problem would be there's a lot of phones out there that people want cases for. Because I could do wooden ones, I could do metal ones, and I've seen both. Also, I guess we have like 10 minutes left, so we'll see. The mug should finish just about in time. And also, sometimes the metal has like a bump on it that's invisible otherwise, but it's enough to make the cleaning pass not connect, so you get like a little rainbow strip right there in the middle. And the solution to that is to let it finish running and run it one more time at a different split size, so the overlap's not the same, and then we just clean it up. So right now I'm running it at a split size of 5mm, where the laser does like a 5mm strip and rotates. So I'd switch it to 7mm or 3, and it would cover up any such issue. And thank you very much for that. I really like the mugs. They're pretty much the only mugs I use right now. Yeah, I need to actually be streaming this myself on my Twitch more often, because I do sit on laser a lot, but I don't usually stream it because it feels boring. Like, it'd be 8 hours of just this, because that's what some of my days are like. Oh, thank you. I have not made those magnets in a while, but I still have a bunch of them, because that's all wood, and I make them on my other laser. So I'll still make a few when people order them. The mugs? Yes, I sell the mugs. Yes, the laser is engraving the steel. It's both scoring it lightly, it's removing the rainbow color from where Twilight's face is, and it's engraving it nicely. But all the stuff that I'm etching I do sell over at mylittleties.com or in the Discord channel here at the con. The laser is very good at burning steel. And I have so many different mug designs. My Little Ties, that's the name of the channel here, and that's also the name of my website, mylittleties.com. Not on this laser. My other laser, yes, I had a scar for about 6 months from my other laser. But this laser wouldn't really hurt if I stick my finger into it. Oh, thank you very much for that. I've done one or two full, like, edge-to-edge designs. Actually, the Trixie Glimmy Rocket mug is pretty much a full edge-to-edge sort of edge. But I don't usually do a lot of other ones for that. Although it's definitely doable. Oh, and we're on the QD mark now. But also, it's has to be the right amount of time. The machine does not need a lot of power to run. It mostly eats about as much as a desktop PC does. And I do not have clip-on ties, unfortunately, but a regular tie can be converted to a clip-on tie. The two reasons for not doing too many cover-to-cover designs is they're just a lot more work, both to design initially and then to engrave. Oh, and I guess I've got about 4 more minutes left, so curious to see if the mug will finish in time. I think it might. And yeah, you can get a real tie and go to like a tailor, and they should be able to convert it. They also sell ways to convert a tie to a clip-on tie with a little bit of sewing online. Oh, and it looks like what I was talking about happened, like that little first corner edge on the star there, the cleaning pass does not connect. So what I'm going to do once it finishes is I'm just going to rerun the QD mark only. But you can kind of see a little bit of color of the original mug shining through there. And thank you. The important thing is to catch these things before I take the mug off, because once I do, that's it. It's really hypnotic to watch this machine sometimes. Well, I sell a lot of colorful and shiny stuff. I definitely take customs. I do a lot of custom stuff. It's a lot easier if you come to me with the art, and if not, I can help connect to an artist who will make the art, but I can do a lot of different things, since I etch almost everything myself. So definitely ping me on Discord here, ping me on Twitter, on Facebook, any of that stuff. And thank you very much for showing up to the panel. This was a lot of fun. I hope everyone enjoyed watching the laser do its thing. I expect we're just about finished here. Thanks for asking the questions. That really helps me run a panel too. And I really like talking about lasers, so. Yep, we made it just in time. And firing laser. Well, I'm gonna rerun the QD mark here, so if we wanna watch it do that and just see it fix that, that'll be perfectly fine. but I'm gonna spend the rest of the day lasering, so that's just how it's gonna go. So feel free to kill the panel whenever, but if there's any more questions, anything else, I'm happy to answer, or we can just look at the shiny lights. I've been working with these lasers for a while. I have had a CO2 laser since about 2015 and a fiber like this one since 2017. I've actually been recording them a little bit. It might be a lot of fun. So maybe I might try just recording them and speeding them up to post them in different places, because otherwise they do take a little bit to etch. But yeah, there we go. It's already cleaned up that one piece that was a little bit offset, and we're gonna let it finish running and do its thing. So sometimes this does happen with the mugs, where I need to rerun one part of it or the other part of it. But yeah, lasering a lot of stuff. Some things I finish up with like epoxy doming or cleaning up afterwards, but generally things I just laser them. I try to make a lot of new stuff. I usually add a new product every month, maybe two. It's a really neat machine. And I'm actually going to run a second Twilight mug as soon as this one is done. And of course, while all the mugs are rainbow covered, they all have different patterns on them, so no two are going to be exactly the same. Alright, switching out mugs. Preview. Looks good. And firing laser. the preview is really, really important because it's the last chance to see that everything is in the right place before I start the laser, and then you cannot change anything after that. Once the laser hits the metal, that's it. The piece is set. Well, they're also good for measuring because they're exactly 1 ounce in size, so you can totally use the shot glasses as a measuring cup. And you can see this one is actually lining up a little bit better, even though it's exactly the same focus, exactly the same settings, exactly the same everything. Oh, and there's our 5-minute warning, so we'll see how far we get into twilight in that. But the laser moves quickly because it's a galvanometer setup. There's 2 high-speed spinning mirrors inside the laser head. And as they go, they can move up to 3,000 millimeters a second or so. It can be really quick. The biggest limitation right now for the speed of the laser is the rotary itself, because it's got to turn, and it can't turn too quickly. I mean, it could, but it would probably throw the mug off, which would be bad. And because this rotary can be adjusted in how it holds things, I can use it for everything from like pens and rings to the shot glasses and the mugs, with all the different ways that it can hold them. And rings can be held both from the outside and the inside, so I could actually etch the inside of the ring as well as the outside. Thank you. Yes, they are. Although I try not to have anything too expensive either. I think my highest ticket items are like the sterling silver book pendant and some of the other silver cut pieces. Personally, I've been really liking these mugs. Oh, thank you. I've used to have them. I never put them online. The compasses only just got put up in the shop. So they're brand new as far as online sales go. It depends for what it is. If it's like a small thing, it'll probably be about $9 to $10. Bigger things are going to be like 15-ish, maybe. International shipment has gone up a little bit recently. And yeah, it's again, it's really, really fun to watch the laser run. Thank you, Icy. Yeah, I still have a bunch of the wooden magnets, and I can make more as needed because I've got a couple of sheets of wood on hand. That's actually the really nice thing about just making stuff, is that I can come up with things and laser them on the fly. Alright, I think that's the end of my stream then, so thank you very, very much for showing up, everyone. Ping me with any questions, and I will happy to answer. And so noted. Thank you very much for showing up to the panel. I hope everyone has a great day and great rest of the con and a good weekend.